Okay, so that's where I would like to start, just shortly introduce you to our company, RISE. So RISE is an abbreviation of Research Institutes of Sweden, but we call us Sweden's Research Institute, and that is, I guess, because we are an independent governmental owned company, and because we are a very large company, at least if you are having the Swedish standards of it. And we are about 3,100 employees working in the different research fields. So we could say that RISE is made up of a network of more than 30 research institutes that's been brought together under the same umbrella organization. And there is a variety of research fields included. But today I will talk about the life science part. And the when it comes to pharmaceutical development. But in my own words, I would say I would describe my company as a connecting link between academic research and industry research. And mostly we perform applied research, although there are differences across the organization, because it's for us very important to also participate in the development in the public sector. Yeah, I skipped the other one, then no need to go through that. So this is what I'm working with, and the department I represent is called Chemical and Pharmaceutical Safety, and we are about 35 researchers and technicians, and we offer, as said previously, safety solutions for bringing new pharmaceuticals or chemicals to the market. And we are certified GLP toxicity and analysis laboratory, and then that are not that many within Sweden. And of course, by having that certification, we can conduct in vivo studies meeting the regulatory criteria. And in all we do when we work at our department is that we put value in the 3R principles: the reduction, refinement, and replacement. So in the labs that I have around me, we usually start using our in silico prediction tools, and we also conduct in vitro tests, of course, before we start testing in animals. And also in the same building, we have a bioanalysis lab and a pathology lab. In total, I guess RISE has about 200 scientists working in pharmaceutical development research. And as I said, I am working in Södertälje, south of Stockholm, in former AstraZeneca facilities. So it is the main site in Sweden where RISE conduct pharmaceutical research. And it's where we have the animal lab. And the lab is about 2,000 square meters, and we keep mice and rats. And in my team, there are about 15 employees, and many of them have long experience in conducting safety studies and working with in vivo models from AstraZeneca's, from the time they used to work at AstraZeneca. But we have broadened our competence. We don't just do not do safety studies. We're working in the whole process in the preclinical phase. So it could be efficacy studies, kinetic studies, and different kind of pharmacology studies. So if focusing on the refinement part, I need to present this person, and it's because she is the star and the heart and the brain behind the refinement work that we have at RISE today. And luckily, she's a colleague of mine, and she was recruited to RISE about 5 years ago to build the animal facility and set the working principles to meet today's requirements for study quality. And the photos you see is from 1977. And that gives you an understanding how long she has been in practicing refinement work. And she's not limited to just rodents, so she has been working with refinement also in its pigeon and squirrel monkeys previously. But I can say today, Mary is her name, her principles, and her commitment to refinement and animal welfare is today a cornerstone of RISE and animal laboratory operations. So I will now take you on a tour to show you how we work at RISE and hopefully give you inspiration of how you can improve your work and that of your company or organization that you belong to. So refinement for us means that we always do our utmost to make the animals as comfortable as possible during the stay with us, which means that we are always open to all suggestions and that can improve animal welfare. We carefully analyze and follow up on every animal test and session that is part of our laboratory activities. And with a reflection and inspiration, we develop new methods, techniques, and approaches. So in this video, you can see it was a body weight session and quite appreciated by the rats. So if we have a look at our animal environment, we have asked us how can we meet the needs of our animals? So that's a question you can ask yourself in your lab, and I suggest that you start what's needed in your area, and you can find some inspiration today or from others. And there is a natural need for activity in rodents that we have chosen to meet here at RISE. So in our cages, there is the availability and presence of chewable material, nesting materials, hiding space, climbing and balancing tools, possibility to dig, possibility to search for food, and of course also to have social contact. And all of this gives opportunities to activities. So this is how we keep our rats at RISE. And they're quite large cages, much larger than standard ones, because we have modified old rabbit cages to rat cages that we call family cages. And we can keep up to 10 rats in each cage. And in these cages, they can climb, balance, and hide if they feel the need to. And they also have a box to dig in and a hammock to sleep on. And as you see, we in our lab, we only have open cages and no IVC systems. And that's we find it's very important since we working with studying behaviors and clinical observations. And when the rats have moved into rabbit cages, our mice have moved into the vacant rat cages. So these cages have thus more space and height than traditional ones. And also mice can live up to 10 animals per cage. And in this video, you can see a well-enriched cage in our facility that stimulates rats to face new challenges such as climbing. And as you will see now, rats are very social, seeks contact, and want to interact with the handler. And actually, mice are also surprisingly social and active at rise, and they have a great need to dig and build tunnels. So by having a good amount of bedding, we ask you to have about 3 to 4 centimeters and a proper nesting material. We give mice opportunity to build tunnel systems in the cages. Here is an example of how you can enrich your environment for the mice. Or actually, I'm aware that it's not possible to decorate the cages as much for all facilities, and not even for us in all cages. But you can use this picture as an inspiration and see if you can find something that you can use to stimulate your activity. So let me give an example of an innovation and what ingenuity can achieve results that can take experimental animals to a new whole level. Our work and videos in this presentation clearly show that both mice and rats are social animals and have their individual feelings and needs. And this we call the mouse lift. It's appreciated to play with, but also you can use it as when transfer the animals and do a health check as well. So this mouse lift has been produced by leftovers when we modify the rabbit cages to family cages. So, and the grid is from stainless steel. And this is another innovation built at RISE. It's called the mouse trapeze, and mice love to climb and balance and seem to prefer moving objects. So it's also built from leftovers of stainless steels. And this innovation won the first prize in the challenge. And one of the prizes was it going to be produced for the market. And then I guess it's the picture that you see to the right. But then Brexit came and everything was stopped. But hopefully we will overcome that issue and be produced in the future. So our observation boxes are perfect for studying the animal's behavior. Initially during the training period, the boxes are very much appreciated by the animals, and they contribute to the well-being as they give the animals extra activation. And by observing animals in these boxes, it is easy to pick up any innate reaction, as well as later when you do the study, substance-related behavior changes. So that's something that's great to have in mind and have that knowledge before the sharp situation when it comes to clinical observation. And of course, social animals are easy to work with. And you would know that even if the animals will experience discomfort or pain in our toxicity studies, we maintain the good relationship with the animals because we have spent a lot of time in advance and have a good foundation, or I would say we have created a good foundation and trust to each other during the training period. But if you don't have the space or the capacity of the large observation box, you can use also regular cages in your environment. So in the best of worlds, the socialization of mice and rats begins with the breeder. We do not breed animals ourselves, but we purchase them for all our studies. It is possible to actually establish a partnership with your breeder to teach the animals from early age to not be afraid of hands. So we could recommend that you ask your breeder and ask them to add some gentle handling of your animals from 3 to 4 weeks of age and that will be a much better start when they arrive to your facility. If you breed your own animals, you can do exactly the same. And when I say 3 to 4 weeks, there is a reason, and it's that the rodents have an imprinting window during that period. So, as I said, the gentle handling already from the start makes the acclimatization and to your facility much smoother and will get you a better start together. This is a video shows when we unpack the animals when they're ready to rise. So we lift them slowly and carefully out of the boxes, no chasing, and we give them time to calm down in our hands to start with, and we introduce them to the vet bed that comes here. And the vet bed accompanies the animals throughout the stay and through all procedures. So our animals about, in general, 8 to 10 weeks at study start. That means that we order them 3 weeks earlier. Except for mouse males, then we need them to arrive as early as possible, hopefully directly after they weaned off, to secure the possibility for group housing. So here is an example of a training session of a mouse. So we want them to trust our hands and the vet bed. So that's part of the training. And as you saw, you can use something else to help with, to start with. So stressed mice can be lifted by a tunnel in the beginning, or something else that they recognize in the cage. And the only handling this mouse has had before this training session is at arrival. In this video, you can see a training session of a rat prior an intravenous infusion study. So we start letting the animals get used to the hands. And in this study, blood will be collected from vena saphina. So therefore, we touch the legs. They are extra handled. And also the tail where the inlet infusion cannula will be placed. And the infusion time are set to be 20 minutes. That's quite long time. And as we don't restrain the rat, we hope that we want the rat to stay in our lap. And so there it's very important to let the rat feel calm in the lap, and also are used to be wrapped in the vet bed, because it can be a situation where the rat will be anxious because of the effect of the administered substance. So for us, it's important with the handling and training for the start. So preferably it starts with the breeder, otherwise from the day when they arrive, when unpacking. So what do we consider important when meeting new animals? It's handling from 3 to 4 weeks of age, both mice and rats. And it's about the time they wean off. And pick up the animals without letting them feel being chased. And to give them a nice first impression of the new environment and the new people around. And we always use the vet bed as an aid. And it's good to have in mind, it's here where we lay the foundation of creating trust. So yeah, we know that we should therefore pay them attention, being respectful, calm, and careful around the animals. So then we will have a great start together before the actual experiments. So how can you become better at handling and training animals? So as almost every time when there are new things in front of you, you start with set aside time and take your time to train. And then also learn to read the animal signals. It's the way that they communicating to us. And remember that we enhance the behaviors of animals, both the desirable and the undesirable through our own behavior. That happens all the time, both if we are aware of it or not. And and the better that we get to reading the animal signals, the better trainer we will become. So pay attention how the animals react and when we interact with them. And never forget that the animals are also individuals. Some need more time, some less. And have a plan for your improvement work. Sometimes it doesn't go as we plan. And then you need to stop, reflect, and reverse the plan and revise and redoing or choosing another path. And like you do today, find a network and create a partnership. Find a mentor, and then you can also be a mentor. It's great when we can share knowledge and being a developer. So keep track on what you're doing. That's what we do at least. And also not just the studies, also the training session, what we are doing before the start of the study. So there are several good reasons for having a training document. Practice makes perfect, and for both the animals and the handler, we automatically learn to read animals' most common signals by repeating the same type of training, and calmed animals give us the confidence to boost our skills in our work. And also it's a great support when using this kind of document, giving a systematic training approach when you have onboarding new employees. And we also at RISE have decided to have training included in our animal ethical applications. So routinely training the animals is a matter of principle at RISE. So in line with other activities we conduct, the focus is on quality and sustainability. And we will become better at communicating with the animals. And this is what it could look like, an example of a training document. I will not go into the details, but you can see, it shows the first and the last training session of a female and male rat and a female and male mouse. And to the left, when you see the red-orange squares, it shows that it describes behaviors that relates to defense and stress to the animals. But by moving along and doing your training, you can see to the right green squares. And that means that you have reached the goal of your training. You have gone from stressed animals to animals that are calm, curious, and active, ready to start the study. So in short, our training routines are that we train all the animals 5 times before starting the study, with the exception of oral dosing that is trained separately a few days prior study start and takes a few more days. But you always start with using your hands and letting the animals get used to your hands. Vet beds are involved in all training moments. We use one from males and one from females, and you can wash them and reuse them like forever. And you can autoclave them also if you're working with infected animals, for example. And we always try to end the training with something positive. It could be a little candy or cuddle, or to get to play in the observation boxes. And the study protocol and our SOPs specifies what training is needed and conducted during the acclimatization period. And our 5 training session happens, as said, during the acclimatization period, and they are usually 2 to 3 weeks, and they include each session, but I would say it's not that long. It takes about 1 to 2 minutes per animal, and it's as I said, depends on what is going to be trained, and also of course on the individual. But at the first training session, we only let them get used to the hands, cuddle and cozy on a vet bed. And in the training session 2 to 5, it's where you put your focus on building recognition for upcoming experiences that the animals will encounter in the experiment, such as sounds from the shaver or infusion pump. And at the last training session, we want them to be green squares. They're going to be calm, relaxed, and curious. So why do we do this? What does it help by doing this? There are some innate fears to deal with and take into consideration when you're handling and training animals. And I will share some suggestions to avoid negative reactions in your work with animals. And we could start with novelty. And a powerful tool is to create recognition in a positive way for everything that is new to the animal. And that also applies to the staff. So as a role at RISE, we have a dedicated person for the animals that arrive to a specific study that follows the animals through the whole study to the final end. But we make sure that everyone that is involved in the testing steps is familiar with the animals before they start the study. We have smell. You should have, we recommend that you avoid perfume or other strong scents. And actually also the choice of rubber or latex gloves can also have an impact of your work. And we have noise, avoid high noises while working, and it relates to the sudden movements. We move calm in the animal room and being careful in what you are doing. And when it comes to pain, we use pain relief if it's possible for the study. Then there is no, if it's going to be painful, we use pain relief. And then we come to the lack of control. And as I hopefully you already seen, we avoid restraining as far as possible. So the common stress-related behaviors we see is freeze and flight. And in this video, you can see a mouse freeze when being approached by a hand. The mouse has a stiff body and tail. And other common behaviors that we noted is urination, defecation, black flipped ears, half shut eyes, vocalization, tail flick, shiver, and teeth chatter. So fight usually occurs in a situation where the animal feels trapped, and usually on animals that want to escape, but end up in a situation where they cannot move, or in a situation where the animal is taken by surprise. So for I mean, like a situation where you not see where the danger is coming. And this is common in hamsters being picked up when they are sleeping and not fully awake. But at our lab, the stress-related symptoms fighting is very rare actually, and I hope it can be, the reason is that they have been trained and used to our hands. So by mentioning innate fears, it leads us to effective training. What is the goal of training? What is the benefit of training? And why is handling and training important? For us, it's creating trust and recognition and less stress for both animals and the staff. That minimize the risk of stress-related mistakes and reduced risk of injury. A typical risk situation could be when the staff are about to poke the animals with a sharp needle. A more accurate clinical observation. This allows us to make more reliable interpretation and evaluation of the test substance. For example, lower risk of mistaking stress behaviors with test substance-related adverse effects, and reduced risk of failure during various procedures. For example, blood sampling. In stressed animals, blood flows poorly. Animals are rarely restrained at race, and regardless of the route of administration or sampling method. And by working in that way, we can see, hear, and feel how the animals react throughout the procedure. So when we experience benefits both for animals and the staff in the way we handle and working with animals. And being part of this improvement work, I guess it's naturally it's exciting for most people to develop the work they are involved in. So this is very important for us. So I'm thinking now to move over to show you some sampling techniques that we use and also some administration routes. So in the next video, we will see blood sampling on a trained female Whistler rat, and she has been trained to sit on the vet bed, and her tail has been extra handled prior to the experiment. It is the first time she is sampled, and here we take the blood, you see that, into a tube through a cannula. And this method we use when we collect larger volumes, 200 to 500 microliters. But microsampling, as you see here, is the method that we prefer to use. We collect smaller volumes of blood in capillary tubes. And this rat has been trained to sit on the vet bed. And you see up to the right, it has some candy to eat also. And this one has been trained to sit in the house. And this one also gets some candy while being handled. So there are different ways to work when drawing blood. And it's a good signal to see that the rat eats at the same time it's going to be sampled. That's the rat wouldn't eat if it didn't feel safe in this situation. And in this video, we collect the blood sample via saphenous vein. And when we train this, we touch the hind limbs extra and train the grip. And you can also habituate the animals to the sound from the shaving machine that you use prior blood sampling. And as you can see, the vet bed is clamped to our coat, and we need here we need a larger amount of blood, so that's taken directly into the tube. And now afterwards, the rat will get some cuddle. Here we show on a stuffed animal how we hold rats and mice when taking blood from the saphenous vein, and it's stuffed animals are quite good to use when you're teaching new stuff. You have the vet bed climb to your coat. And it's good to have a view of the animal's facial expression and secure well-being, and you touch the parts that's going to be touched in the experiment. And here you will see a few videos clips from blood sampling of 2 different mouse strains, and both are used to hands. The training procedure is the same for both mice and rats, but the grip is not necessary to train before study start for mice. It's because mice tend to get scared when being restrained in this way. So it's better to postpone this until the mouse really trust you and your hands. And you will see that both mice are relaxed and trust the handler. Great blood flow immediately. And it works very well, although the grip has not been trained before the sampling session. In the next video, you will see oral gavage on trained Whistler rats. These rats trust the handle, so they can easily be picked up from the cage. No firm grip is needed, just a slight fixation of the head. And after the administration, the rats will directly seek contact with the handler. And the reward in this case is to go out and play in the observation box after being dosed. So to habituate rats and mice, in that case, for oral gavage, we do like this. When the animals appears to become curious, you can start carefully fixate the head between your fingers and pet the rat on the head and cheeks, so it gets used to your hands being close to the mouth. When this is accepted, you can move on and try to insert the soft tube. When you feed the tube into the mouth, it is important to have your fingers on the tube close to the mouth, so the tube doesn't bend. And we always use soft tubes. And this is not always accepted immediately by the rats. It usually takes a couple of repetitions before they are comfortable with this procedure. So we always train our rats by inserting a tube at least 3 times before study starts. And at the last session, we also sham dose the rats with the water, which you are seeing here. And mice can also be trained to be calm during oral gavage. And if they're calm, they don't chew on the feeding tube. And as I said, the soft tube can be used, and the training procedures are similar to the one that I just described. And you can fixate the head the same way as for rats. A gentle dosing grip is what is needed. So here is a dosing session in a GLP study on Whistler male rats. The infusion time in this study was 3 minutes, even though the procedure is a bit painful in the beginning. The rat remains calm, eats the treat during the administration, and we see actually huge advantage holding the animals by hand in our infusion studies, as we can feel the immediate substance-related symptoms. For example, a spasm during the administration. The rat has been trained to be calm, and it treats in the lap in advance, and of course the tail has been extra handled. And when you train these rats for infusion, you gently pinch with the nails before on the tail. And yeah, cuddle again. That's great reinforcer. And here is one way how we do intravenous dosing on mice. You can do this with a mouse sitting on a vet bed in your lap or a vet bed on a table. And the mouse has been trained to sit on the vet bed, and it's gently stopped to move by touching the tail base. And of course, the tail has been extra handled. But as I said, you don't need to poke it with anything sharp, the tail. And actually, the training procedures for blood sampling via tail vein and IV injections on mice and rats are the same. So, and the cuddle is always there. And in this previous video, there were 2 people, but if you train it well, you can do this procedure by yourself as well. And here we come to subcutaneous dosing of the rat. And this rat has been trained to sit on the vet bed, on the table. It has also been trained to be pinched gently where the injection is to be made. You will see the rat feels the injections. Yeah, but remains cool. And as you see afterwards, you get some cuddle as a reward. And of course, it can be done in the same way as on mice. So now we are coming to the end of the visit at RISE, the end point, and our farewell. And as we invest a lot of time and love in our laboratory rodents during the stay with us, it is equally important to invest in a human endpoint. And we don't want our animals' last feeling before leaving us to be pain or fear. So therefore, we euthanize our animals one by one in the room, and we anesthetize the animal with isoflurane. And when unconscious, we cut the carotid artery. And the vet bed is with them at the end point as well. So we wrap them in the vet bed. And the mice are gently stopped with the light grip of the tail base. And as the gas is heavy, we start by placing the nozzle above the animal. And put it around their nose when they start to fall asleep. This is the toughest job. You who have done it are aware of it. And to say goodbye to an animal friend. If you need to anesthetize your mice during the experiment, you can practice some parts in advance. You can have the nozzle. If you have the nozzle, you can prep it with some candy, so they can put the head in it, and you can put the nozzle in their home cage, or if you use an observation box, and also practice holding them in the vet bed. Some of you may use a box for anesthesia, and then you can let the mice or rats explore the box a few times before the experimental date. So most of our video materials are also found on our web in one way or the other. And you can reach them by going to RiseWeb, ri.se, and search for 3R, and then you will come to our, reach to our Refinement webpage. And there you have a 50 minutes education video that you can watch and get experience from. But we also have some shorter videos on the same webpage, about 10 minutes for different species, and also shorter ones. And from the that webpage you could also reach, if you're interested in inhalation studies, we have another video that shows how you train the animals before inhalation, and that's something that you can get information on through the web. And as I said in the beginning, there may come questions. I'm ready to take them now, but if they pop up later and if it relates to your practical work, you can reach us on 3r.refinement@ri.se. And if you think I can be helpful with you, you're happy to send me an email as well. So thank you for giving my time to present this work that we do, and I hope you got some inspiration how you can improve your work.